Luigi's Mansion 2 for Nintendo 3DS is delightful. That's about the sum total of any review I can possibly come up with. It's delightful, it's charming, it's creative and clever. The mansion is like a puzzle box, the way each room appears pretty benign on the surface, but can be completely unravelled with your varied but never overwhelming toolset. You can roll up carpets to reveal trapdoors, suck canvas paintings up to reveal what's underneath, open up flowers with a blast from your flashlight, pull cords, ride dumbwaiters, just try anything and everything to explore and locate more treasure. There's combat, so to speak, between you and the many strange somethings in the neighbourhood, and while it's enjoyable to execute, it always felt to me like a dainty hors d'oeuvre to the exploration-based main course. It's stunning too, graphically, and nails the Nintendo feel so absolutely that I'm shocked it isn't a first-party game. Luigi's Mansion 2 is just a quality product, polished and complete feeling. Not enough people seem to talk about it, it just sort of drifted by largely unnoticed. But it's there, in the 3DS library. It's there and it's waiting. It's haunting.
Hello?
I've been playing Rise of the Tomb Raider's post-game recently and found that its closest analogue in the real world is the act of tidying up. Basically, you have this big map covered in little icons and you have to tidy it up. So you set a waypoint for an icon, press the right stick down to do OCD mode where you can see everything that needs, tidying up. And it's a lot of things, as you can see here, it's a lot of stuff. So then you go over to the thing that's glowing blue, that means tidy this up. This is the most important, this is the current thing to tidy up. Then you tidy it up, and then you look at the map, and the icon is gone. You've tidied it up a bit, and you do that for hours, and then it says, you have tidied up 100% of this area. And that's, it seems like it's bad, and it seems like I'm being sort of snide, but when I'm in the right frame of mind, I find it relaxing, almost therapeutic. Like, I get to just move around and play with the really great controls. It feels good to move, and I get to tidy up. It's nice. I'll do an area, say, if I can tidy up this whole area, I'll reward myself with a digestive or something. So, tidying up, it's nice sometimes. For the top 5 in this horror-themed episode, it was a complete no-brainer to do the top 5 horror games. So here they are, the top 5 horror games for the Sega Master System.
And 1.
Master of Darkness is Castlevania for the Master System. There is no dancing around this, it is literally Castlevania. It has the same style of gameplay, the same hidden health in the walls, the same basic heads-up display, the same floating objects with items inside, it even has the stairs. It's Castlevania in all but whip. Thankfully, it's quite a good Castlevania. You play as the marvellously named Dr. Social, who has to journey through various stock horror movie locations, such as a wine cellar, a waxworks, and a drug trip, in order to defeat Dracula. Jesus Christ, it's even Dracula! This is Castlevania as fuck! Couldn't they have made it literally any other fictional vampire? Anyway, the point is that Dracula is amassing an army of serial killers. Jesus, this is amazing. This is actively incredible. Who's the final boss? Fred Whoa, I just got wicked deja vu. You can pick up various weapons, but the best one is a walking stick, which is awesome. Dr. Social is awesome. I wish my surname was Social. Everyone would just be at complete ease with you. You could lull your enemies into a false sense of security, then absolutely twat them with your walking stick. Dr. Social, the ultimate badass. This game seriously needs a remake, with microtransactions so you can buy more walking sticks.
Two.
Laser Ghost for the Sega Master System is a Sega Light Phaser game that tasks you, the player, with protecting a small girl named Linda as she casually strides through such welcoming environments as a haunted castle, a haunted house, a haunted garden, and a haunted city. It's like one long escort mission in which you fire live rounds alarmingly close to a frightened child in order to protect her from living suits of armour, ghouls, pumpkins, some manner of painting geist, bats, tables and chairs, but no ladders. It's pretty difficult, especially if you play with the actual light phaser, because in that mode you can accidentally shoot Linda and assault on Precinct 13 the fuck out of her. Playing with a pad doesn't let you do this friendly fire, which is a fair trade-off for the astonishing inaccuracy you'll experience playing that way. You'll need the pad on your lap anyway, even if you use the phaser, because you have to hit button 2 to activate the special shot, which is basically a smart bomb. It's a little bit awkward in general. It's based on an arcade game, and as you can see, it's an absolutely spot-on port. Of course, I am being sarcastic. The Master System is not known for its arcade perfect accuracy. It's a totally different game with the same title, like the same format's version of Line of Fire. Interesting curio and worth a play on this most fearful of holidays. 3? The Master System port of Ghouls and Ghosts is quite an interesting one. It's not perfect, in fact it's barely adequate, but it makes a few changes that are interesting to fans of the series. There's an unusual sort of upgrade system wherein you can find hidden doorways to level up Arthur's helmet, armour or boots, which give appropriate boosts to his powers and stats. There's a big issue with sprite flicker, as is pretty common in Master System titles, but it's a decent looking game with a few standout moments. The most unusual thing is that it only seems to have the default lance weapon, but it's possible there are more buried in the game that I just didn't luck into. It's also really hard, but saying that about a game in the Oooh series is like saying the 32X didn't really set the world alight. Four. I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know what you do in Ghost House. I could have looked it up, but then I'd have to open my Sega Master System cupboard and, it's really dusty in there. Gives me a bit of a sinus problem, so I don't want to look. You seem to be in a house and it's full of ghosts, spooks, apparitions and that. And you sort of walk around and punch a goblin right in its shitty face. And sometimes you have a stabbing knife, and there are bats. And there's spider webs, but I'm yet to see a spider, and apparently you have to defeat Draculas, like multiple Draculas. Oh, and Ghost House has been released in Brazil as Chapolin X Dracula Duelo Assustador by Tectoy. The sprite of Mick was replaced by the Mexican character El Chapulín Colorado, to the point of starring in his own comic book. Citation needed. 5.
Dracula.
Bram Stoker's Dracula is a diamond in the rough, based on Francis Ford Coppola's incredibly brilliant movie of the same name. I haven't seen the movie, I don't know. But yeah, it's a really good game. Really Mario-esque little game where you control Keanu Reeves as he explores various vampire levels. The first area of each stage has an interesting system, where the enemies don't really come out until the night, which takes a few seconds of game time. There are lots of hidden secrets to find, which of course gives me the right horn, because I love secrets in platformers. There are several weapons to use and lots to see, with some really cool looking bizarre environments later in the game. It's one of those titles you have to play on hard mode to even see the ending, which is a bit annoying as the game isn't easy by any means. A particular bugbear are the relatively tight time limits. I don't understand why devs put these in their games when the time constraint isn't a paramount sort of part of the game's design, but that's a whole other feature. One of those ones where I'm on the lectern. I don't deserve to be on a lectern. I don't actually have any authority on the subject. I just did it because extra credits do. They don't have any authority either. I'm just as good as extra credits. Maybe if I made my voice squeaky, I'd get more views. Is it working? Am I a YouTube sensation? The Amazing Adventures of Mr. F. Lee is demented beyond human comprehension. You play as a flea and you have to pick a pup, and then it's just Frogger. Like, it's the same as Frogger with no differences. Well, I mean, there are dogs instead of frogs, but it's Frogger, not Dogger. Then you finish Frogger and pick another pup, and it's Donkey Kong. With the most bizarre, nonsensical perspective, it makes literally no sense to look at or play. But it's Donkey Kong, and there's no cats apparently. So then you finish that and go to the next stage, and it's I don't know what this is. Maybe Circus Charlie. That's just a guess. So but you're swinging on tails, like dog tails and cat tails, jumping from tail to tail, and oh Christ, look at that top right one. That's a cock. So anyway, next one is another thing where I don't know what it is. You are climbing up a dog's back, but because you are a flea, and you pop balloons, then that ends, and you just sort of loop it. You do it all again, and it's ludicrous. But it's actually quite a good idea, because if you only have like 1 quarter, you would get to play 4 games in the arcade, and at least 2 of them are just other arcade games. Like normally a quarter would get you a game of Frogger or Donkey Kong, but with Mr. F. Lee you get both of those and more on 1 coin. So that's pretty cool, really. And that's the first edition of my new MAME, that's Multiple Arcade Machine Emulator, feature, Dank Mames. I might rename it. Or should I say, remame it? No, I suppose I should say rename. I played Resident Evil Revelations 2 for 10 trillion hours. I was surprised, especially when the Earth's sun burned out and civilization began anew. I missed it, I was playing raid mode. This game is brilliant, especially on co-op. It's just so much fun. It takes that more modern shooty Resident style and dials it back a bit and focuses heavily on the dual character mechanic. So you've got Claire and Moira. The former is the muscle and the latter has a flashlight which can stun enemies. So you shine it on a monster until they get blinded, then switch to Claire and twat them. Or you can be Barry and Natalia. Barry is, again, the muscle, but Natalia has a sort of daredevil radar sense, so you can see where the enemies are through walls, as well as invisible insects that kill you in one hit. It leads to some great tense co-op moments where the Natalia player is directing the Barry player where to fire, enemies visible to her but invisible to the Barry. The aforementioned raid mode is actually the meat of the game for me, around 40 or 50 stages of shootery loveliness. It's definitely an edition of Number Go Up, but it's a good one, and getting increasingly superior weaponry and equipping your character with new loadouts and skills is a fun and fairly deep experience. The whole thing, again, can be played in multiplayer, which is ace, and features loads of characters from throughout the history of this beloved series. The episodic structure works brilliantly, and overall it's just a top-tier product. I give it my highest rating ever, 8 out of 10.
They thought summer camp would be fun. It wasn't long before they realized it would be deadly. Slayaway Camp.
Slayaway Camp is a recently released puzzle game for Steam that I would imagine, based on the interface, is probably also coming to phones. You control a serial killer, a slasher, as in the great tradition of slasher movies, and you have to slide your way around killing teenagers. If this all sounds morally bankrupt, the art style is so cutesy that the violence barely impacts. Indeed, I've grinned massively at some of the absurd excess on display in this game, but if you're not a fan of completely willful bloodletting, you might want to steer clear. There are tons of little homages to classic slasher and other horror films, and a great sense of humour playing off the repetitive nature of sequels. The general aesthetic and presentation are terrific, and it feels like it belongs in a much more expensive game. The actual mechanics are very simple, in a way that makes the game accessible without sacrificing challenge. Your killer slides around like he's on ice, not stopping until he hits a wall or a teen, and you have to manipulate him to murder said teens before escaping the stage. Variation is introduced with new elements such as policemen and stages in which you have a limited number of moves. You have access to a quick restart as well as a step-by-step rewind if you take any particularly boneheaded actions, so there's no frustrating replaying of an entire stage just because you accidentally hit right when you meant to hit up. It's been a big surprise for me, a super fun game with plenty to see and do, many unlockables and lots of humorous violence as well as horror fanservice. I recommend Slayaway Camp. It's Ampian. Newsflash! Titus the Fox to Marrakesh and Back is on GOG.com. Yes, 1992's DOS platformer Titus the Fox. It's out. You can buy it. It has been re-released. You can be a fox and throw things at hobos and die a lot because it's very hard. You can murder bulldogs and be a fox like Tails the Fox, except with one or no tails. Titus the Fox, it's back in GOG form. You know that feeling when you're the only person who cares about something? Well, we made it through Halloween and into Bonfire Night. Happy Guy Fawkes Day, everyone. Now let's watch the fireworks.